full image of the Playtime Co. playground was finally revealed by Mob Games, which revealed so much detail about what we could only speculate about from the first chapter. It showed a clear visual map of what the audio tapes only talked about previously. Hi folks, I'm R, and welcome to the video. Keep in mind that this game will have spoilers about the entire franchise, including the first chapter. With that said, let's begin. The full image of the Playtime Co. playground, including the train, was revealed after Mob Games decided to release all of the 4 torn pieces of the image, completing it. Putting all of the torn pieces together, we get a large image of the playground area of the company, which hosts a large number of kids who seemingly are the orphans the organization pretended to help in their Adopting an Orphan program. There is a lot to cover here, so we'll start from the most prominent aspect of the image, the train. The smoke coming from the chimney seems to have a hidden face, a face belonging to no other than Puppy, who also had her face in the recent trailers, instructing the protagonist to wake up.
Wake up.
The purpose of Puppy playing a faint image of herself in different commercial videotapes and images is not very clear, which creates a surreal type of feeling as if the world of the protagonist is simulated in some way, with the only real aspect of it being Puppy showing herself in the doll form. Puppy seems to want to break through the barriers and limits of her world and the world the protagonist is in, trying to wake him up. I give it a chance that the protagonist might be another test subject being kept in a simulation, as Puppy always seems to want to help him or her break free, acting as a guide. I won't get too much into this theory of mine, as it would require an entire video on its own. Now, getting a chance to look at the full image, it seems that majority of the people in the playground are kids, ranging from as little as 5 or 6 years old to teenagers, as evident from the height difference. There seems to be also some adults present, but we'll get to that a little later. The playground is very large and has a 4-way junction, 2 adjacent to each other, going underground to different rooms, one leading to another larger part of the factory, and one leading to the platform where the people get on board the train. This entire segment of the factory, which I will call the playground from now on, is under close surveillance and observation by many scientists wearing white lab coats from above, seemingly having connecting railed pathways to other parts of the factory. The platform above seems to also have an observation room where other personnel, such as the head of the organization or the specific program, people such as Elliot Ludwig or Leith Pierre, are present there, being given the results of whatever experiment is being carried out. It's implied from the first chapter that Playtime Co. conducts sinister and shady experiments on people, heavily implied to be on children and their employees. Foster an Adoptive Care Initiative, a pretentious program by the Playtime Co., incentivized their employees who would participate in this program and adopt a child. They even recruited parents who would adopt children. That is why there are some adults observed in the image sitting on the benches next to the children, keeping a close eye on them. They seem to be potential adoptive parents, playing with different kids, getting to know them, and possibly choosing one or a few to be their adopted children. This image is in fact a horrifying snapshot of the atrocities that took place in Playtime Co. The playground, in fact, was a place where orphans were used as bait to attract adoptive parents, with the scientists monitoring them very closely and possibly handpicking who would be the best candidate for their cruel experiments, if they didn't experiment on all of them. I believe Playtime Co. looked for caring individuals who like to take care of children and enjoyed their company, with Playtime Co. transferring their souls into Mascot for unspecified reasons. One educated guess of mine is that Playtime Co. had an obsession with creating lifelike toys, so much that they wanted to create mascots having human qualities, and of course, who better to take that role than a caring individual who enjoys playing with children.
I'm a real girl.
Just like you.
She is the first doll actually able to have a conversation with a child. Hard to believe?
Just watch.
This seems to have backfired, however, as when the souls were transferred into the mascots, they showed signs of aggression and violent tendencies. It's not very clear if it had anything to do with the individuals themselves who had their souls transferred, or if the experiment caused them to become monstrous. I leave this idea for another in-depth theory video, as this would also take the length of an entire video itself. On the train platform, many children are excited to get on the train, which seems to be another part of the playground attraction, just something keeping the children busy and distracting them from the sinister plans Playtime Co. has with them. On the four-way junction, there are two underground rooms, one being Mystic Memory and another unseen from the angle the image was taken, with a large Mummy Longlegs mascot being present, welcoming the children who go down. It's not definitely clear if Mummy Longlegs had already been experimented on and had a soul infused with her at this point, but a child seems to be waving his hand at Mummy Longlegs, and so is she, seemingly. This could portray that Mummy Longlegs in fact is alive at this point and fully moving, a successful experiment by Playtime Co. standards, having a human-like mascot that cares about children and enjoys playing with them. That is why in a trailer, Mummy Longlegs mentions that it's been a while since she played with any kids, displaying how she could have been the mascot welcoming the children in the mysterious room. But of course, this backfires as Mummy Longlegs, just like many other mascots, showed violent tendencies, killing people and rebelling against the scientists, causing the factory to shut down. This corresponds with a videotape that the protagonist listened to by a scientist, mentioning how the ones below are attacking them and breaking out, possibly pointing out to the test subjects, the children, the employees, and the adoptive parents, going up to the observation platforms where the scientists are seen in this image.
Final log. In relation, experiment 1006, the prototype. Coordination and cooperation is evidently within his skill set, as well as the skill set of all other experiments of his type. Though still missing, today's events are no doubt in relation to him. His absence was a flaw in the scientific process, which should have under no circumstances been left unaccounted for. That's why I'm making this log, so that the same mistake won't be made twice. Future experiments will need to be contained and disposed of in a secure location. I'm not worried about myself. One breakthrough and I'll be back. We must forge onwards in the name of science, whether those who are beneath us understand it or not. End of...
The playground seems to be heavily monitored by the scientists and off-limit to specific people only, as any visitors coming to this place could easily sense something eerie and abnormal, as playgrounds and places for adoption don't usually have observation rooms and platforms built securely above, far from reach, while scientists in lab coats are taking notes. My guess is whoever enters this room is doomed to be experimented on and to never see the sunlight outside anymore. Anyone truly doomed to suffer this horrible fate, to live for eternity trapped inside a doll's body, kept as a prisoner inside the factory, would understandably lose their mind and become homicidal. There are certain tools and electronics attached below the observation room, which seems to be used for controlling the people underneath, or in other words, the test subjects, or even used as tools for conducting the experiments. They could be speakers or some other type of electronics which could instruct them what to do, or even trigger certain involuntary responses for controlling them. This could be words or terms which have been engraved in their minds while experimenting on them. This goes back to my theory about the simulation, connecting the use of these electronics to that experiment. People sedated and put in the simulations could be controlled and guided through these tools. It's not too clear why this image was taken and for what purpose, but it's clear whatever this image was used for was something Playtime Co. didn't want to show to the public, as it clearly depicted their sinister plans with the orphans and the adoptive parents, as it clearly has been torn into pieces in order to be destroyed and not used as evidence against them. It doesn't seem whoever torn the image had enough time to fully destroy the image, as they could burn it or shred it, which brings about the possibility that this image was torn when the test subjects broke out and attacked the scientists above on the observation platforms and rooms.
I'm not worried about myself. One breakthrough and I'll be back. We must must forge onwards in the name of science, whether those who are beneath us understand it or not. End of...
According to the videotape by the scientist on the first chapter, and what this image shows, the observation platforms and rooms were present throughout the factory, connecting all over. This is also observed in the final parts of the first chapter, where the protagonist manages to incapacitate Huggy Wuggy. The place that they are both walking on are suspended pathways or platforms leading to different parts of the factory. These pathways, however, seem to be a bit more covert than what is seen in the image of the playground. This image revealed so much to what we had just heard on the videotapes in the first chapter. This image created a visual description of what the people talked about on the tapes, the scientist who was soon to face his end talking about the people below coming up and rebelling against them, and Stella Greybear who was passionate about working in the Playtime Co. and mentioned she would like to be a child again, who suffered a horrible fate of having her consciousness transferred into the puppy doll.
So, Stella, what made you want to work at the Playtime Co. factory?
Playing with toys when I was young was so magical. I could go straight from my bedroom floor to anywhere in the world. It was such a great feeling. And being able to work at a toy factory, somewhere that can provide kids with that same experience, that's a pretty great feeling too. Sometimes though, I really wish I could go back. To being a kid, I mean. And it's weird, because adults are just kids, but older. I don't think anyone ever really feels like an adult. Your body just gets older and older, and then you die. Poof! Human bodies just can't stay young forever. There's things though, like some trees that can stay alive even while being way older than the person. I mean, the oldest people to ever live are still younger than those. So I guess everyone is always young relative to something, right?
Wake up.
Stella, unlike the other mascots, seems to have kept her personality, not showing any signs of violence when in the puppy doll, but not much could be said about her until more information is revealed about her. That's it for this video, folks. I hope that you enjoyed it. I have a couple of more theories about Puppy Playtime, which I might manage uploading before Chapter 2 is released. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell not to miss out on them. It's been your host Star, and I will see you on the next one.